Hey y'all, I know it has been a minute and I had some technical difficulties last night, but we are going to get into this Carlos King Stop Meg and Erica Mena interview. My bad, that's my cat trying to annoy me. But if you enjoy this review, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it.
What people don't realize is the time I missed from having to provide, I could never get back with my kid. So naturally, I'm always going to have that regret. I sacrificed a lot of time away from him to provide and get comfortable enough for that. But I can't never get that time back.
Hey Raindrops, before we get into this episode, I want to invite you to join my community, my YouTube community, honey, of subscribers.
No.
So please make sure to subscribe to this channel.
Recordings just got
Y'all
better.
gonna have to bear with me.
Hey, it's Dana
when
from
it
Street
comes
Nerd. I'm
to
so
the
excited to
ads.
announce that
Okay.
local recordings.
Just letting y'all know.
Yes, better. You know what? I have it.
Okay. Erica Mena, before we get started, I do want to ask you this though. How are you doing?
I'm still having my moments of like, damn me, you did so much work. Damn, you know? But at the same time, I do feel like
Did you do work? Let's start with that. Did you do work? Go, keep going. Go ahead.
I don't want to say this, something like this had to happen, but it was time.
It was
For me to really
time.
close out that chapter, and which was what I was ironically doing. This was my final option on contract with them. So, and obviously with the last 2 years of my life being so crazy, I was excited about finishing out this one. That would leave me no more options owed. For those who don't understand, when you sign on to reality TV, there's something called an option, which is how much you owe the network as far as how many times you come back.
So when you sign a contract as a reality star, I think this been working scripted too. When a reality star signs a contract for one season, the network has options on you. It can range from 2 options to 3 options, which is equivalent to a season.
Yeah.
So
each option is considered a season. So this was my last option on contract that I owed them. So that would leave me just being 1 year exclusive to them in reality. But obviously, you get permission and I can do other stuff and stuff like that. But I say all that to say, like, I was really excited to finish out this one just for my freedom for the first time after all these years, because coming into this,
She had to fulfill, and she was basically at her last point, and then she fucked it up. Is that okay?
No. The way I signed on to Love and Hip Hop was an ambush, and I haven't, been paid back appropriately since.
So before we get into the Love and Hip Hop of it all and what happened recently, I want to get to know you. Because one of the things that I do know about you is that you had a very tough childhood. And I don't think a lot of people understand your background. So I would love to give you the opportunity to begin there. You are a product of
What's this have to do with her calling Spice everything but a child of God? Hmm? I'm not understanding, but okay.
Being your mom was pregnant with you while she was in jail. Was she in prison? Your mom was in prison, and she literally was pregnant with you while she was in prison. And then you went to the foster care system, was raised by your sister for a short period of time.
Yeah, back then, and even still, the system is very neglectful towards children. So there was a lot of ways to get around it. And my sister being 18 at the time, my older sister Lisa, she was able to kind of lie and so for a short period after my mom gave birth to me, she did have, but it wasn't very.
In jail.
Yeah, my sister was able to take care of me for a little bit after being born. So my sister had me for a little bit, ducking and dodging ACS as much as possible. That was like our life for a while. But yeah, and then it was foster system. So it's weird because it's layers to my childhood. That's like hard and traumatic.
And that's the reason why you call Spice a blue monkey. Is that the gist of this interview here? That her childhood was just so bizarre and so messed up that she called Spice out her name. Is that what I'm getting here?
And then there's beautiful moments too.
Why was your mother in prison in the first place?
Like I said, y'all gonna have to bear with me when it comes to these ads. I'll try and cut it out sometime later on when I edit the live, if I can, but y'all gonna have to bear with me. So that ain't it either.
My mom was one of those women, like a lot of us today, that was just a go-getter. Before I even get into that, I would like to give a little background on my mom, so people aren't assuming like she's just this, you know. My mom, at a very early on, lost her mom, and she was then put into group homes where she was raised by nuns, which a lot of them were extremely abusive. So my mom kind of had it rough. Had my first sister at 16, and then came Linda, and then a couple of years later came Josie, and then came me. And all of which she's always been one of those.
Not from my own experience, but
do whatever it takes to provide for us. That's one thing I know about my mama that stands out. There's one thing you're gonna tell me about my mom is my mom don't provide for us. So that's she's just been the hustler, and that's with me and my sister. It's like it. So it came down to her providing, and she wanted to get me this crib. And in order to get me this crib, she had to do a run, and that run, wrong place, wrong time.
So your mother went to jail because she wanted to provide for the baby crib.
Yeah, there was a crib she seen on Fordham Road, and she said she's like, none of your sisters had cribs. I wanted to get you a crib. So yeah, in order to get the money, it was like, okay, let me do this real quick. My mom was really dope though, in the sense of she ran her number spots. I don't know if back in the day you're familiar, but like there was these number spots that people go and like, hey, it's kind of like a raffle kind of thing, and
like the lottery.
Yeah, lottery, like the hood lottery kind of thing. And she would work that out of a laundromat.
And Carlos' mic is not. Like, there's a problem here. I hope y'all notice that.
And my real father has played a part in it.
They were both in the
well, he kind of like, instead of giving her the money, was like, here, go do this for me, and I'll give it to you. But it was definitely her going to handle something on behalf of my real father that she went to go do and got caught up in like literally in the midst of the moment.
So your mother gives birth to you in prison.
Or it could be my family.
And then how long were you there with her in prison as an infant?
So a little bit after that, she was able to get bond, or she was out on bond or bail, whatever. So, but that was very short lived. And then that's when my sister was able to kind of like have us for a little bit. And then before my mom went in to go through her official time is when she asked a mutual friend to kind of stay with us until she got back. And I actually just spoke to my sister about it yesterday. And she said, my sister Lisa, she said one day a woman eventually started dating a guy that was younger and was bringing him into our home. And my older sister was just not fond of it. And just hated how he was starting to take over the house. So one day she said, I came home. She's like, and this was this is her, like, being a young girl trying to raise me, her sister.
I do hear
my
the
sister
fan.
Linda,
I do hear it.
Also have my nephew very young. So we have my nephew in the mix as well. Trying to juggle it all while my mom was away. Has this lady that's supposed to be overseeing, and letting her stay with us because she had kids and nowhere to go. She eventually took advantage and tried to move a man in, and my sister just didn't have it. And she said one day she got pissed off, came home, threw all his shit out the window, and the lady got pissed and called ACF on us.
And that's when you were in foster care?
Yeah.
How long were you in foster care?
I was able to have a 2-year-old birthday party thrown by my sister. I was still in I would say, okay, so I got out around 6, 3, 4, 5. About like 30 years.
I always say this is for any child, but there's something about a young girl. Because I do feel like mothers shape their daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to be born inside of a prison wall, in the prison system, and then to be transferred to a foster care system all by the age of 2. And from 2 to 6, the years where a little girl is supposed to get her mother's love and attention, you were being
molested.
You were molested?
Whoa.
You were molested in foster care?
I know for a fact my anger issues in my adulthood came from my childhood. You have these moments of like, okay, you're with this family, you're dealing with what you're dealing with, and then you have these visits with your family. And every visit, I would just pray that I was going home officially, and that wasn't the case. So like after every visit, being ripped from my mom to go back, built a lot of anger. Wow. And I used to remember going back to the house after the visit, and I used to be so mad. I used to punch myself. I was so mad. Just having to my family favorite. But over the years, you know what I think about is the.
Hold on, y'all. Like that's all very traumatic and very sad, and my heart goes out to her because she's a woman at the end of the day, and I too am a woman. My thing is like, why did it take now for her to get fired and all this stuff after calling Spice out her name and all kinds of shit like this for her to come out and tell her story? I feel like maybe people would have had a little bit more compassion for her if we would have known some of this stuff. And I mean, like, I get it. Nobody's gonna be like, yeah, because this shit happened to me. I was born like this, all that. Nobody's gonna do that stuff. But, and I'm not gonna say like, oh, I don't believe her story or anything like this. Like, I would never say that. It's just, I'm trying to figure out why now you want to tell your story after revealing that you're racist. I feel like everybody wants to do that. And it don't matter how sad your story is, you're racist. And I feel like people cannot forget that at the end of the day, that is where this stemmed from. Because she called Spice a blue monkey, she got her ass fired, and now she's upset and she want everybody to hear her side after they did that little round table talk. And I know this is gonna sound harsh. I know it is, and maybe I should have disclaimed with that. Um, but yeah, just don't forget where this stemmed from. Don't forget why she has to tell this side of her story now. That's all I'm saying.
Kids that didn't even have those visits, that don't have those visits. Because I look back on my pictures and I'm like, oh, this dress is pretty good for a kid in foster care. And then you look at the kids that I was in school or in the house with, and they weren't, but they had to because I had family that would come and check up with, there's kids in the system that no one checks up on them. So it's like they're just forgotten about. And yeah, so I feel like those moments of like, and then you go back home and then, the son of my foster mother touching me the way he was,
How old was the guy who molested you?
He was definitely.
The world is so fucked up. That's all I'm gonna say. My heart goes out to her for that. It really does. Because you don't
And it
get
happens
over
a
that
lot.
type of stuff. You
I was
don't.
kept in a high care a lot. So I feel like just like not as a kid when things happen to you, you don't know how to explain to yourself everything's gonna be okay. And I feel like just not knowing why I was going through what I was going through, just I just hate myself so much because I used to be so angry, especially like those visits with my mom. They were like, eventually,
that's just my
as a kid, when you come to your mom, the last thing, and then at the same time, I was in a situation of like, I was so young, I didn't know what was being done to me was really even wrong. So, the foster care years were really, I feel like, ironically enough, played a big part in why I've had a lot of like built up anger throughout the years where it's like crossed the line. It's because as a kid, I was never able to release my anger and like, the frustration.
I get that. That makes sense. It's like this stuff was happening to you as a kid where you just could not defend yourself at all. And you couldn't explain to anyone else or understand it yourself why someone was doing this to you, which was completely wrong. And then as you get older, you just snap. But you don't snap into a racist. You are already racist. This is what I'm trying to get y'all to understand, okay? And I'm gonna try not to keep pausing it. I really want to hear what she has to say, but I don't want y'all to forget the baseline. And I know they're gonna get to that point in the interview, maybe, because shout out to Haven, and she let me know that there's gonna be a part two, sometime next week or something like that. So yeah, just don't forget that part, okay?
Those visits, as much as I loved them, the ending was what I dreaded the most.
What you said is true in terms of at that age, because I consider you to still be a toddler because you're so young and you don't know the words in terms of what is happening to me. You know it's not right, but you don't know how to.
It feels like, it doesn't make you feel good.
Yeah.
You just don't know. Am I supposed to speak on it because of this? Because it's not right? Like, and then back in those days, this was like early 90s, like, it's not as talked about, and then me being as small as I was, who would have thought to say something? I mean, I look back at it now, I'm like, damn, I wish I would have, but I didn't.
Well, I don't think you should blame yourself for that. the thing is this. That's why I said earlier the importance of a young girl having a mom. Because one thing I know about mothers, they prepare their daughters for these conversations. Someone touches you here, you tell me. If someone does that.
Yeah, I wasn't with my mom long enough in the beginning.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So you can't blame yourself for it because you didn't have the education from your mom to be able to explain it to you, and you don't know what to say in terms of identifying what is happening to you. And one thing that you touched on that I would like to just bring up again is, of course, you did not tell your mother, because at the end of the day, you saw her in small doses. And in those small doses of time,
I just want her to love on me.
you just wanted your mom.
I just want her to love on me. And I have pictures of me in foster care, like in our visits and stuff. And you can see in those photos, just like us in our embracement. I'll send them over to you. Just like those were the times that were really rough for us as a family. You know, my sister Linda was, what, 14, 15 after having my nephew at 13. He was also with me as well, which thankfully they kept us together. But yeah, it was our family has definitely been through it. You know, starting from my mom and how she's, you know, so it's, I didn't come into
My bad, you too. Not sure.
What was your father at around this time?
Eventually, he got deported. Drugs. He's still over there. So. But that's my blood father is not what I consider to be my real father. My real father comes later.
So. How later does he come into your life?
Right when my mom is in the halfway house. Yes, he was a counselor, and they fell in love.
How old were you then?
Oh, gosh, how old was I? I want to say like 7, 8. This is like right fresh us, mommy just getting us back. But that man changed our life forever in a great way.
Sidebar. Haven, if you're watching this or if you do watch this, remember when we were talking about how Carly did something to her face and how Bambi did something to her face? I see it in Erica's face too. Just, yeah.
Now that was my dad, and he took care of me, and he raised me, and it was never once that I did not feel I wasn't his daughter. And to this day, there's no telling me that's not my father. So my mom eventually, you know, got out. We got us, and from there, life as far as childhood became really, ironically, just great. My mom was always a party goer, so my house was always the house in the neighborhood that was the revolving door. Everybody and their mama came over to cook or clean. I mean, my mom cooked, so everybody and their mama came over to eat. Sorry. And it was just an infused household. My mom had a job working with people with cerebral palsy, so her patients and her clients became our family members. So I grew up with not only a diverse, you know, surrounding of races and, you know, people, but also we loved on individuals that had, you know, birth defects. That for us was like, you know, so very early on, I learned to just embrace people no matter what the hell they look like. And in growing up in New York and the Bronx neighborhood at 840 on the Grand Concourse, you know, we had everybody in their mama at our house. And that was good. It was the good old days. It was either us listening to, you know, Mochata Merengue or Mary J. and, you know, Jodeci, depending on which sister was, you know, taking over the radio. But our house was always full of music. We were always dancing. And that's when I started to love life in the sense of listening to music and being in this surrounding. My sisters were real hip into like the dance moves of what was in, and we would have dance parties, and I ended up being the kid that my sisters would bring to house parties so I could win the dance contest and we go home with money. Like I was really that kid. Like I just loved music, loved to dance, and you know, my childhood from there became like a childhood. And I no longer had to think about what happened to me. So even when my mom got me back, I never spoke of the things that happened to me in foster care until I got older. Because life just got great. So it was like, and then again, still, I didn't know what was supposed to.
Yeah. And like
Are you sick of having issues?
And like you said, your who you consider to be your father now, he came into your life, saved you essentially, and you were able to understand the foundation of family.
Oh my God, yeah. And I was able to understand what it's like for a man to love a little girl, which is very important.
Right.
So even though I didn't have that early on with my real father, my blood father, I should say, my real father gave me that.
What you also got was a modeling contract as a teenage woman. Was it a J-Lo lookalike contest or something?
So after a while, it just became, I know what I want to do with my life. J-Lo was like the biggest thing out there. And I was like, wait a minute, she looks like me, she's going to have fun. She started where I started, like, this is where she started. She took the same train that I take to go to school every day.
You were on the 6?
I took the D to the 6. But yeah, like it was those times. Well, even before that, because like I said, my mom always used to have music playing in the house and stuff, so we would have our, different genres playing. But the first time ever my mom made me watch West Side Story is when I was like, I want to sing, I want to dance, I want to be on TV, I want to just do it all as a little girl. So that's what made me start wanting to do the dance and stuff, and I would, and I got so good at reggae. Literally, I would be at reggae parties. This little Spanish girl, like literally going all the way back because I was super flexible and studying on all these dance hall queens that were there, and I would get my little money because it was
Lord.
this little Spanish girl.
Not the dance hall queens. See? Is this where your villain story came in? And why you and Spice just, it's like, no, this ain't no Nickelodeon Cartoon Network type shit. But, interesting. Not trying to pick and prod at her story, but,
And how she know how to dance like that? So and that was the stuff that I was like, yeah. So I was fueled very early on by different cultures and like music, and my sisters being so in the know, like what was hip, and we're around the way girls. We're in the heart of New York City where hip hop was made. So that's when we were fueled. That's all we know. So West Side Story put the light bulb on. And then, yeah, it was like, okay, I started junior high school and I got my first working card. And once I got that, you couldn't tell me I wasn't grown. I got my first job at Dunkin' Donuts. Then after that came Holiday Inn. Then I worked at Justice. But anyway, so I was making my money. And as soon as I started making my money, I started to like save up, being able to like buy myself nice things, Jordans, this, that, and the third. I'm like, wait a minute. I fell in love with the whole, I make money, I get to take care of myself, have nice things, and this, that, and the third. Okay, so how do I do this, but doing what I want to do? And then, bam, J-Lo came on the scene, and it was like, oh, that's how you do it. So it was like the map of like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I actually have a visual of someone doing it. So I started, doing what I do, and I would go down to the train station every morning and look for Backstage, which was a newspaper back in the day. Yes. Backstage.
So Backstage is this newspaper in New York City. I don't know if LA has it.
They used to. Back day, it was all over.
I lived in New York around the same time, and they would have advertisements and auditions
for like everything, commercials, this, that, and the third. So that's when I started to, really like get out there with, and then eventually it was like, I want to go on this casting. I was during school hours, so I started skipping school to go to castings, and that's what started my whole thing. And the next thing you know, I got offered a contract by just skipping school one day and going to auditions, random. I would pick one day out of the week so I wouldn't get called, because my mom would beat my ass. One day out of the week where I would just go on auditions. and it would be the day that I would find the most auditions in that day. Walk to backstage, and I would just go all over the place, and eventually, you know, MTV started doing castings and MySpace and all that stuff coming on. So MTV started posting castings on their website, and that's how I got a chance to do like Sing with Karaoke and Wanna Be J-Lo, and got a chance to go all those little things. And yeah, and that fueled everything I fucking needed to say, okay, I'm going to be a big shit. Like, I'm going to be the shit. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I was going to be the shit. And there was no way around it. You wasn't going to tell me nothing. You know, even it's funny because my family knew I was doing stuff because, you know, the contract and all of that stuff. But I don't think they ever really took it seriously, even though my cousin Maritza was married to David Allen Greer, and she was like a big fuel for his career. Yeah. She was like, she made David Allen Greer at the time. She was like holding off. So outside of that, my family didn't know.
Don't, Miss Mena. Don't play with David, please.
Oh, like, what are you doing? So only Maritza was the only one that was in the Hollywood world. So, you know, them seeing me want to be in it, they loved it, you know? This young girl, like, okay, you want to be J-Lo? Okay, mommy, okay, you know? But, yeah. And that's kind of how I started, and it just wasn't, and then it just kind of just kept going from there.
Yeah, because you started doing music videos.
Yeah, the music videos came after, so I started meeting more casting directors, and then they would submit me, and then every time I was submitted for a music video, I got hired. Every single time. So that's what came, was the music videos. And then I started doing them, and then I was able to make a little video name for myself, and I was able to do like party hostings back in the days. You know, they used to hire us because we were on magazines and all of this and all that, and you know, you could make a quick $500 just to party, and yeah. And I was young as too.
And here you are with no guidance from like, you know, a big sister, you know, the parents, no momagers, you know, none of that. You had it in you. And you started to make a name for yourself in New York City, which is a tough market to break in. At what moment in the earlier days of your career did you say, oh, bitch, you made it?
There are Dell Edge devices.
I don't think I've ever still.
Even today, you don't think you made it.
And she's not going to for calling people monkeys, Carlos. Do not forget that she would sit there and call. Carlos, you're wearing blue, honey. She will call you a blue monkey right there. Oh no. Y'all not gonna bamboozle me. I'm upset. It's like no.
I know I have so much more. And I only get teary because, God willing, I can actually accomplish all of those things. So, I don't think it's nice, the thought, because everything I've been through, you think like, shit, give me a break, right? I've never said that.
The acting, the TV roles, being able to travel.
Especially now, I feel like with all this stuff that's happened, I feel like I have a lot more work to do.
Are you afraid of not being able to accomplish stuff based on what's been happening lately?
Not based on what's happening lately, but you just never know. You know, life is life and nothing is promised. So, but I'm not fearful because of God leading. I am more than ever. It's all in His hands. But yeah, like I always pray, like especially for my kids, I want to be able to, as much as I got a lot of explaining to do, I want to be able to be like, all of this happened, and explain it the way I need to, but I also need something to show for him. My kid. I just want them to genuinely be proud of me.
Are you proud of you?
Yeah. That I am.
Okay, good.
That I am. Because, especially with the last 3 years and how everything happened in my life with, mental health is serious. You have good days, you have bad days. So I'm proud of myself because the bad days have been long. I pushed myself to. That's what I'm being proud of. Because I'm here.
And you're still standing.
Yeah. Because there's days you don't want to be here. Let's face it, sometimes with all the stuff you deal with, especially being scrutinized, like, well, I've been on TV, reality TV, let's say 15 years, so let's say,
You've had days where you did not want to be here on Earth.
I've had days where I'm like, I don't want to be me. I wouldn't say I don't want to be on Earth, but like, I don't want to be me. This is too much. Like, I need a break. Who wants to be someone 24/7 that's always having to go through so much?
That's some real shit now. Hold up. That's some real shit. Now, if we could get this eloquent Erica Mena, maybe, we wouldn't have so many issues. But you can be eloquent and racist at the same time. So, but that's some real shit. So I totally understand that.
But at the same time,
she is human at the end of the day, and I don't want y'all to think, well, you're just not trying to give her no benefit of the doubt. I don't want y'all to think that. She is still human at the end of the day. But again, even humans are racist, okay? All right.
I'm like, shit. I'm supposed to be me. So it's like, who wants to? Like, I'm supposed to be me.
Even being a teenage mom yourself, I want to go there now in terms of, here you are, girl, like, you won the JLo contest, you're on your way, you're a music video girl at the height of what it meant in the early 2000s to be, and I was in New York City at that time, and
I was like in all the hottest videos,
Smooth magazine,
yeah, I was definitely doing the damn thing. No manager, no guidance, no nothing. My mom maybe once or twice came to a Smooth magazine shoot and was cheering me on, but the fundamentals of like the business, and all of that stuff, no, that was just me pure winging it for a very, 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 very long time. And then
you got pregnant.
Yeah, and I didn't even know I was pregnant. But like, I didn't know I was pregnant with King until like going on 6 months.
What?
I had my period and everything. Yeah. Ironically enough, years later, the same thing happened with Legend. I had no idea I was pregnant. I was getting my period and no symptoms and the whole damn baby. Dr. Jackie went, put the thing on and the whole baby face. Like, hey! I have that video to this day. It's so funny. And it's like my 2 boys. They didn't want me to know they were coming.
You had King. How old were you when you had King?
18.
You were 18 years old.
And then I had him at, no, I was pregnant at 18, had him at 19.
And the child's father, was he in the streets?
I wouldn't say he was in the streets. He's very respected.
He's very respected in the streets.
Like Raul was definitely respected and feared. But that's what I loved. I loved that.
So
Dove is the #1 bar dermatologist.
If you're enjoying this review so far, make sure you like. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and share.
So you met him.
I love a man that can't split.
So Raul meet this man. He's respected in the streets.
First day I met him, I was on a private flight
You feel the heart?
to see Eva Queen perform in Puerto Rico. And that is my thing for change. Like, oh, seeing Eva Queen in person. People just talk to her and just star quality. And I was like, wait a minute. I get it now. Like, that was my first female encounter, that someone that made it, that I grew up, idolizing, and like, oh, Eva Queen. She gave me without even realizing, I was just there studying her that whole damn day that we were in Puerto Rico, and I went back to the States like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be big shit somewhere, somehow. I'm gonna be it. So yeah, I met him. Lean Back video. And it's funny because as toxic as our relationship was, it was also very fun. I spent my days partying in Miami, living my best life, going to the beach every day, going back to the club at night. It was just, and this is back in the day when like DJ Khaled was at Pre-Bay, and like Mansion was open, and you had Club Fed, and believe it or not, what do you call that? Big Beach, and then we're out in the scene. So, it was a good time. Good time. I was young. It was a good time. And I was just in the life officially with him. But he also introduced me to a lot of opportunities that led me into where I'm at now. So even though our relationship was so toxic, if it wasn't for him, putting me in position to do the Courtney and Chloe Take Miami show.
That's how you got it?
Yeah, well, he's really good friends with Scott Disick from growing up in New York. Scott is a New Yorker. So we're really good friends with Scott, and Raul's girlfriend, we already lived in Miami. It was like no brainer. And when they come to town, we would hang out with Courtney and Scott. So it was like, okay, So yeah. So yeah, I had my baby. I didn't know I was pregnant. Found out. I hid my whole pregnancy. When I was pregnant with King. More so because I knew I didn't have shit. I didn't have a pot to piss in. Obviously, there was no other option. I had to keep the baby. And there wasn't going to be no, even though I didn't want kids. I didn't want kids ever, just because I saw the struggle of my sisters and what I went through and all. So when I got pregnant, it took me a while to even be okay with being pregnant. So I was in hiding most of the time. And then remember too, I was like this little video girl doing the damn thing, and I didn't want my pregnancy to, because at that time that's what it was. You had to be a bad bitch. So like, pregnancy, what? We didn't celebrate pregnancy back in those days.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I had my son, and that was a lot because obviously I didn't have a pot to piss in. But having King.
If you hear babies crying, that's just my neighbors outside.
Really set the tone for how I would hustle moving forward. Having him. Because as a young mom, you don't realize the layers to being a mom, I should say. I just worried most about providing, and I wanted him to just always have what he wanted, what he needed, especially because I'm a big believer. It's like when you have kids, they didn't ask to be here. So if you have these kids, you got to do right by them. That's kind of like my mentality was when it happened. And he was always he was a good baby. Hardly cried. I breastfed him. I was very proud of that. And, so into like breastfeeding my baby, where everyone around me was like, breastfeeding, you don't feel weird? Yeah, because, small-minded in our urban eyes. Give baby formula, call it a day, but I was the one that was breastfeeding my baby, and I took I took a lot of pride in that. It was like one of the things I feel like um, that really bonded me with him the most, because it was like, okay, I brought you here, taking care of you, how you're surviving is coming from within me. And now my job is to provide and to be the best.
Now, I'm not a mom, and I know that shit is hard. So, shout out to all the moms because my mom is the best. Sorry to all of y'all, but my mom is the best. Shout out to you. But yeah, it's not easy. And every mom should be celebrated because it's not an easy job. So I'm going to give her that. All right. Again, she's human, and mothers are human.
Whatever it took, I made sure to always give King everything he wanted, everything he needed, and eventually, when he was old enough to start school, what was important was for him to be in a stable environment. Um, Eventually, I left his dad. It got to that point; it was just too much. And when I left his dad, I, got caught up in another relationship right after. But it was my first time out in the world, just me and my baby, for real, the grown ass woman, like for real. So my hustle changed because of my son. It was like things had to have a purpose. Like if I'm gonna do this, it's because I'm getting like it wasn't no more bullshitting. Like I'm not doing this just to be seen. I'm not, I buckled down for the first time, I should say, and like taking my shit serious because I have someone that needs this to go right. We need this to work. So.
And did you have support? Like, did your mom help raise him, his sister, or was it just the two of you?
Yeah. And it's funny because I read so many things about my son from blogs everywhere. That's hurtful. But I was a young mom, and at one point when I officially got signed to Love and Hip Hop, I was not living in New York. I was living in LA. So the beginning years, it was Monday through Friday in New York filming, fly out red eye Friday just to see my son for 2 days, fly back out Monday to finish out the week, come back Friday. So that was our structure for a long time.
Who was watching?
Sorry, y'all. It's just extra busy outside my house today. So I hope I can get through this live. If not, I'm going to have to pick it up later on because it's too much noise and I don't want to distract y'all and I want y'all to be able to hear it. So if it becomes too much in a bit, I'm going to have to end it, all right?
So at first it was my mom.
Okay.
So it's really my mom and my sister. But my older sister Linda plays a big part in helping me fuel King's mind and keeping him, how you say that, he's so smart, so stimulated. She plays a big part in like helping me be on top of King's education and providing him with the best schools. King has always been very, very intelligent to the point there was days where I would get called into school because King was correcting the teacher. So King got in trouble because he was correcting the teacher. Was King right? Yes, but the teacher was embarrassed, so they had to reprimand him in some ways. But that was the most of my troubles with my baby. So in the beginning, my mom, and I actually made her retire from working with UCP so that she no longer has to work. I have the peace of mind growing up the way I grew up.
You know what? Got it. You don't want him being raised by some strangers because you don't want him to go through what you went through. I got it.
Right.
So you retired your mother and said, I will work on Love and Hip Hop on Monday through Friday to make enough money to send back.
And I
home.
wasn't even making enough money. I just
Oh, I
knew.
know. Yeah, you don't make
I
that
just
much
knew
money.
that was gonna do something. I didn't know what, but I knew it was gonna do something. You know. So I made my mom retire, which means now I have more responsibilities. I have 2 grown women and a son. So my mom, came in, and then eventually, my sister gets involved. She is she's very intelligent herself. So she was able to come
I'm
in
gonna
and
have to
help
move
me
y'all
on
for a
days when my mom,
second.
my mom's much older. So it's an equal balance, basically. And I just wanted to explain that because I feel like all parties should be equally praised, both my mom and my sister, because I could not have done that without them. Um, but is it the whole that I read? Your son was just left with his grandma in the middle of I don't know what kind of country they think, and I just am not a mom to him. No, it's just reality or entertainment. I bounce around. My son deserves stability, the same school, the same friends, the same, he needs stability, familiar, like he needs a foundation. And that was important to me. I didn't want to, you know, lug him here, lug him there. I want him to always have something that was familiar.
You broke up with with the child's father, so you're fending for yourself, and there's something to be said about that, especially knowing that you don't want. He wasn't raised by a bunch of strangers. He wasn't raised going from house to house. He had a stable environment with his grandmother
and my sister,
your sister,
and then
you,
and then there's also other people implemented in that because my family is so big. But what's common though, in most Caribbean homes, whether you're Jamaican or whether you're Spanish, whether you're Haitian, whatever, grandmas, aunties, all play a part in raising the kids. It's not just solely like we all collectively, so it's not uncommon, at least for us, for the family to kind of tap in and help you and so on and so forth. So no.
Yeah,
I also want to clear.
I know y'all hear that. I'm sorry. I had to pause this because I guess y'all can't hear it. If y'all can't hear it,
for whatever
fair.
reason, I guess because my son is not the most hippest kid, very introvert, and he's very to himself. At the wedding, he's very shy. He's not into the cameras. People assume that there's something, birth-wise wrong with him. And
wait, people are trying to self-diagnose
I've read blogs. There's actually long blogs that will sit there. Well, I've literally put out stories that my son is autistic. I'm embarrassed of his, or that he's handicapped in some type of way. So for those who read these kind of things and probably have this assumption, because for whatever reason, the curiosity of my son and why I choose not to have him on TV, his privacy and what he wants.
I'm sorry, y'all. I can't finish this. There's too much noise going on in here, and y'all deserve a decent life. I do not know what's going on next door to me, but I do not want to finish this right now. Let me see where we ended off at. It was 44 minutes and 58 seconds. I'm new to this whole live and YouTube thing, so I'm going to keep this up unedited, uncut, filtered. I'm gonna keep this up, and we're gonna finish the rest of this interview later on tonight when there's not so much noise. So thank y'all for sticking with me, for being with me. So sorry, we're gonna pick this up in another video. And I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. So sorry for all the technical difficulties and all of that.